All right, welcome everyone. We are going to get started. Welcome to our first ever virtual campus conversation. I imagine we'll still be having people trickle on over the next few minutes, so we will just incorporate them as they join us. My name is Katie Conlin. I'm with the Center for Leadership and Organizational Change, and I'm going to just be taking us through a couple brief orientation points for how we're going to be using this Zoom technology. Wonderful. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Adrienne Hamcke Wicker to kick us off.
Hello, everybody. Can you hear me? Yay. Oh, exciting. Okay. I am delighted to be here. My name is Adrienne Hamcke Wicker, and I am in the Center for Leadership and Organizational Change. This is exciting and a little frightening for me, so please bear with me if I stumble a little bit, but I'm going to do my best shot here. So I'm going to lead you through a little bit of a presentation, and then we're going to move through the rest of our session. So I need to get to my PowerPoint. Oh, I need to share my screen first, right? Okay. Everyone got that? Do you see the PowerPoint, everybody? All right, fantastic. All right, so let's get rolling. All right, what we are doing today is we are engaging in a campus conversation. And some people say, well, what exactly is that? What we have done is designed these as conversations to discuss particular dimensions of a thriving workplace and to generate strategies for action. So each session will have a similar format. It will include a brief presentation about some survey results and best practices. Then we'll break into small groups for some conversation. And then all of the stuff that is generated from these conversations, we will pull together and thematize, and then we're gonna put those up on the website so that you all can see what was generated from the sessions as well as everybody else on campus. As a reminder, we're talking about Dr. Lowe's Thriving Workplace Initiative, which is an innovative and strategic investment in the people of our university, all of you. We have an aspiration and a bottom line. Our aspiration is that the University of Maryland is the best place to work. And our bottom line is that faculty and staff are doing the work of the university more effectively, innovatively, and with greater impact. So today, this is what we're doing today. We're focusing on foundational needs for a thriving workplace. We're going to highlight some campus-wide results. I'll share some examples of best practices, and then we'll generate some strategies for taking action together. How we're doing it is through this brief presentation and then some small group conversations. All right, so foundational needs at work. The foundation of our work is built on tangible things like clear work expectations and materials and equipment. But it's also about individuals experiencing trust, respect, and fairness in the workplace. For us, we measured these items using 5 questions on the Thriving Workplace Survey, and we're going to talk about those 5 questions today. The first one was question 1, I know what is expected of me at work. Question 2, I have the materials and equipment I need to do my work right. Custom question 1, I always trust my organization to be fair to all employees. Number 3, my supervisor or department chair creates an environment that is trusting and open. And finally, number 6, at work, I'm treated with respect. Before we look at some data, I want to remind you again of the scale that all of the items on the survey are marked against. It's a 1 to 5 scale. 1 being strongly disagree and 5 being strongly agree. Gallup says that sort of the behavioral way of understanding that is if someone answers a 1, that's an emphatic no to that question. And a 5 is an emphatic yes. So I'm going to be sharing means with you, and all of those means are on this 1 to 5 scale. All right, so we're going to walk through this question by question. So let's talk first about expectations and materials and equipment. So clear expectations start with a good job description, but that's not enough. Knowing what's expected is also about understanding and making clear how each person's role fits with others in a department and how those parts come together as a whole. And materials and equipment is about concrete things like hardware, software, lab equipment, cleaning supplies, but it's also about things like systems and processes and access to information. Supervisors who excel in meeting this foundational need don't say, well, here's what you get, make the most of it. Rather, they advocate for their employees' needs, make modifications when they can, and are vigilant about finding creative ways for the group to do its best work. So let's look at some numbers. So the first, so this is question 1, expectations, and question 2, materials and equipment. This is UMD overall, meaning all faculty and staff who responded to the 2017 survey. So you can see our results here are pretty high, 4.26 mean for I know what is expected of me at work, and just under a 4 for materials and equipment. So let's look at a little bit more. Increases. Both of those numbers increased from 2016 to 2017, a 0.06 increase and a 0.12 increase. So that's good, moving in the right direction. So I'm going to break this down and look a little bit at subpopulations. So let me orient you to the slide. You'll see this as we move throughout the presentation. The black bar at the top always represents UMD overall. So that's all faculty and staff. Then we'll break it down into staff, and then faculty, and then graduate assistants. This year we added a parallel survey called the Graduate Assistant Experience Survey so that we could see what our graduate assistants experience was like in the workplace. So the graduate assistants will be on the bottom here. So let's look at this for question 1. Again, the University of Maryland overall was a 4.26, staff right up there at 4.26, faculty just a hair above that, and graduate assistants a little bit below that, but still above a 4 for knowing what's expected of me at work. Question 2, I have the materials and equipment I need to do my work right. UMD overall, 3.98. Staff a bit higher than that, faculty a fair substantial amount lower than that, and graduate assistants feeling like they have materials and equipment they need to do their work above and beyond faculty and staff. All right, so those are questions 1 and 2. Let me move on to custom questions 1, 3, and 6. So what we're talking about here are fair and open environments where people feel trusted and respected to do their best work, and those are foundational things as well. At the core of this concept is the idea of psychological safety. So William Kahn, who's a professor of organizational behavior at Boston University and a founding leader in the study and practice of engagement, defines psychological safety as feeling able to show and employ yourself without fear of negative consequences to self-image, status, or career. Supervisors and leaders play a significant role in creating psychological safety, but it's everyone's responsibility to nurture it. Creating a foundation of trust, openness, and fairness can be as simple as establishing transparent policies and practices, as well as seeking rather than waiting for interaction and input. Let's see, so let's look at some results. Expecting the university to be fair to all, just a midpoint, 3.10. Trusting an open environment, higher up, getting closer to a 4 at 3.69. And then feeling that people are treated with respect at a 4.02. So let's break each one of those down. Oh, increases, boy, I forget that every time. Increase also on all of these, 0.17, 0.14, and 0.09. So again, we're moving in the right direction between 2016 and 2017. All right. I always trust my organization to be fair to all. UMD overall, 3.10. Staff a little bit more, faculty a little bit more, staff a little bit less, faculty a little bit more, and graduate assistants quite a bit more. My supervisor or department chair creates an environment that's trusting and open. Very similar pattern here. UMD overall, 3.69. Staff a little less, faculty a little more, and graduate assistants at the top. And then finally, number 6, at work I'm treated with respect. 4.02 UMD overall, and here we go. Staff a little less, faculty a little bit more, and graduate assistants up higher than those, all of those. All right, so that's a little bit of snapshot of the data. As we like to say, there's so much data here in survey results that this is a bit of a buffet. So we've given you a couple of plates full here at the buffet, and we hope you'll come back to other campus conversations to get more of that. Before I send you off into discussion groups though, what I want to do now is share some pro tips and stories of success. One of the things as we've brought this initiative to life on campus is people say, well, what are others on campus doing? How are other people being successful in creating a thriving workplace? So we decided we would go find that out and tell you. So what I'm going to do is share with you some stories of some thrivers on campus. So these are people who we are calling thrivers. They incite workplace growth and development through positive practice and techniques. So this is a handful of people who have scored particularly high on any of these 5 survey items. And we want to give them a shout out for creating a thriving workplace in these dimensions. So round of applause to these folks. And now what I want to do is share 3 stories, 3 tips for you to take away with you. The first one is lead by example. So let me tell you about Matt Monroe. So Matt Monroe is in athletics, and he says that one of the most powerful lessons he's learned in his career is to be the person you want to see in your coworkers. Operating the ticket sales at Xfinity Center is exciting, but comes with high levels of stress and plenty of mundane, time-consuming tasks. Matt maintains 2 rules of engagement in his office. No one person is more important than another, and no task is beneath you. Whenever possible, Matt pitches in to help, whether stuffing envelopes or handling other administrative tasks. This fosters relationships and trust and establishes team spirit. In Matt's case, it also sets an example for the many young people working in his office. Matt says, someday they will be in a management role, and it's important for me to set the example. Tip number 2, take deliberate steps to control the things that you can. Connie D. Johnson is a director in the National Foreign Language Center, a specialized campus group whose mission is to improve the U.S.'s ability to communicate with people around the globe. The center is externally funded, often running on a boom or bust cycle, so job security is anything but certain. While Connie can't control the funding, creating quality of life for her employees is in her reach. Aside from instituting flex hours and the ability to work remotely, she ensures that the right tools are in place. When the university switched to WebEx for video conferencing, which allows only a maximum of 6 people on screen, it killed the collaborative communal nature of their regular group meetings, the single most important tool for them to help connect. Connie researched and found an alternative, Zoom, which was a total game changer. She then bombarded her leadership for a subscription. Her persistence paid off. Connie says creating a thriving workplace isn't about the physical space. It's the community and tools that make the difference. All right, finally, tip number 3, ask the obvious question. Roxine Castens directs the renovations department in facilities management, a team of project managers, carpenters, and electricians who make repairs and renovations to campus buildings. Their task list ranging from fixing a sticky door to transforming an unused conference area into offices is formidable, with over 2,000 jobs a year. According to Roxine, one of the most obvious and powerful ways to help her team succeed was also the easiest, ensuring they had the right tools for the job. Instead of assuming what they needed, she tasked her supervisors to go straight to the source and ask, ensuring that the shop guys signed off on the list. Some things were as subtle as 4-foot ladders in addition to 6, but they make a big difference to the team. The trade staff now complete a monthly inventory of their trucks to make sure that they are fully stocked and that they have the tools they need to do their work. Tackling the low-hanging fruit was a significant move for Roxine and showed her team that she's invested in their success. Roxine says people assume their employees will come forward when they need something, but they don't. They just make do. You cannot demand something more from an employee without giving them what they need to get it done. Asking and asking the right people is the first step. All right. That is the end of my presentation for you here. What we'd like to do now is get you into conversation to hear what you think. Where there are going to be 2 rounds of conversation. So Katie is going to put you into some breakout rooms. You'll talk about each of these 2 questions. We'll do in 2 different rounds. So round 1 question will be, what can supervisors do to meet people's foundational needs to create a thriving workplace at UMD? And then the second one will be, what can the campus do to meet people's foundational needs? All right, so you'll be working with a clock facilitator to have that conversation. Katie is now moving you into breakout rooms, and I will let Katie take over from here. I'm gonna stop sharing my screen. Ready? Yep.
Yeah. Okay, so a really quick orientation to what's gonna happen next. So in a minute, you will receive, if you're joining from computer, you will receive a little pop-up box on your computer screen that will ask you if you'd like to join the breakout room I've assigned you to. And you need to actually go to that pop-up box and accept the invitation, and then you'll be moved to a breakout virtual room. If you are joining us from the phone, you will just automatically be put in that room. Once everyone's in the room, each breakout room has a facilitator, one of us from Clock in the room, and actually on the screen, those of us who are facilitators actually says facilitator on the screen. So once everyone is in that small breakout room, whoever's the facilitator will introduce themselves, remind you of the question that you'll be responding to, and then kick off the conversation. Because we're responding to 2 questions, we're going to be doing this in 2 different rounds. So about halfway through our time, I'm going to send a message that will get broadcast to all of you via another pop-up box that just lets you know we're halfway through our time, so the facilitator knows to move on to the second question. So just know that that's going to be coming up. And then lastly, once it's time for us to rejoin the large group together, I'm going to give you a 60-second warning that will count down and give you time to wrap up your conversation before you are moved back to the main room. The one glitch that we don't have control over with Zoom is that those of you who are joining by phone, which I think is a couple of you, do not get that 60-second warning. So when I give the 60-second warning, those of you on the phone will automatically just go back to the main room at that point. So if that feels abrupt, just a heads up that will happen. I think most of you are joining us by computer. Okay, so I am going to go ahead and send you those room invitations now, and go ahead and make sure you accept those so you get moved into your breakout rooms. Have fun.
Issues they may have in certain terms of getting their job done. We also heard that the stories of thrivers was of interest, and if we could have better ways, mechanisms for collecting best practices around campus and sharing them as a way to learn. It seems like we're getting adept at collecting and disseminating quantitative data, but the qualitative data seems really interesting. And perhaps there are also opportunities for learning that already exist through UHR or other resources that maybe people don't know about them. So are there ways we can be better made aware of what already exists?
Thank you, John. Monette, unmute yourself.
I'm doing it right now. Thank you. We had some similar thoughts. A lot of our conversation for both questions, the campus and the supervisor, were around training opportunities and the unevenness of either access to them or even knowing that they exist. And if there's time, for example, for faculty to have office hours and go off and do what they need to do, staff should be given the same consideration for training, simply because staff support a lot of the work of faculty, and you want equal levels of training and excellence, so provide equal opportunity to the training. We talked a little bit about some of the barriers of meeting foundational needs were based on the people for whom you worked, and how some supervisors are very supportive, others are not, and just the frustration of not being able to have a supervisor who does support your growth, even if you find an opportunity and can present that opportunity. And what do we do with that? How do we manage for that?
Thank you. And Laura.
So ditto to a lot of what other folks said. We also drilled down a little bit to try and get some specifics on some of this stuff. So a specific tip like having supervisors use "we did something" instead of "I" when presenting back work of the group, and providing stretch opportunities for folks and how to do that in a way that that staff feel like they can take advantage of and won't get dinged for it if they don't completely pull it off the very first time. And we talked about some specifics in administration and finance, where in terms of the campus, it's not the whole campus, but there are some divisions that are doing a lot, and it's not clear that other folks know, people who aren't in that division know what's available and know what they could be building in their own division. And our folks are really interested in this sort of promoting best practices. even if it means you find out people are doing things that make you jealous because you don't have necessarily the same opportunity, but you have to have the window open to it being a possibility at least. And then you can start thinking about what steps it might take to get you there.
Fabulous. Okay, I think I have heard from all of the breakout rooms. I wanted to mention a couple of things that I want to draw your attention to, and I will send you the links for these things. One would be, we talked about professional development and training opportunities. UHR has a lot of stuff, as well as through the Thriving Workplace. Take advantage of our Thrive Thursday offerings. We host a professional development learning session once a month. We are also getting ready to do virtual sessions just like this. So if you can't come on campus or you want to stay at your desk, you can do that, and we will get better and better at the technology with each passing go. So take advantage of Thrive Thursday. The other thing I would hope all of you would take a skip over to is our Thriving Workplace resource library. We have lots and lots of material over there that we didn't have a year ago, that has lots of information about tips for thriving, tips for things you can do as a supervisor, and we're always adding to that. So I'm going to send you those 2 links in addition to the evaluation for today's session. So you'll get that from me. And please go wander around in that resource library and spread the materials on to people that you know. And one other thing before I share my screen again for the last little bit, I just wanted to mention that all of the comments that we are collecting will all be anonymous. So all of your information, as well as the things we collected at the live session, we're compiling it all, and it's all going to be aggregated. So there's not going to be any names or anything attached to it. So please don't worry about that if you are. All right, so let me share my screen one last time. Okay, oh, I have to move all of you people there. All right. Okay, so our next steps, as I was mentioning, we're going to put all of this on the Thriving Workplace website, so we will do that in about late March. Our next campus conversation, our topic will be on alignment and purpose. We have a date set for the live session, which is April 4th, and TBD on the virtual session. So look for information from the Thriving Workplace email address on that. And then finally, I want to leave you with our bumper stickers. A great place to work is a thriving workplace, or if you prefer, a thriving workplace is a great place to work. So take that with you. Keep the conversations going with the people you met virtually today or those in your office. Look for an email from me with evaluation and other materials. And thank you very much for joining us today in our first voyage here in this regard. So thank you very much. Have a great day. Thanks for all you do at Maryland. Bye.